Welcome back to Iron Rage, the show where John Romano, Lee Priest, and I vent our frustrations with the world. I told Lee too late to come on the show. Unfortunately, with the time difference, he's training at the gym. But he's, John, he's very happy that, we kind of hinted that Lee was going to be coming back in 2020. And people are really taking it seriously. And I think Lee's taking it seriously now.
I think so, too. And it's good. You know, out of all of these athletes that make their comeback,
Yeah.
First of all, Lee's already done it, and he won the universe.
Right.
Okay. So chalk number one up for Lee. And Lee is a freak, man. There's no reason why he can't come back. And remember, we always talked about seeing Lee in 212, 220,
Yeah.
24, or whatever it is today.
Yeah.
He'd clean that shit up. So for a guy his size who've always only competed in the open against guys like Nasser and Billette and the Dorian and the Jay Cutler, everybody, he competed with the biggest of the best of the best ever, and did pretty damn well. So I'm looking forward to this. If this is really true, if he gets all this neck stuff straightened out, and his good arm ends up looking up as good as his bad arm, I'm down with Lee Priest, man. That's good. That's going to be great.
Blackman might mortgage his house to try to finance, signing Lee one last time.
I always believed in you.
He might get one more contract out of Blackman after all said and done.
I'm gonna make a star out of you again. You'll come back. I'll bring you back.
He'll have to use his inheritance, but it will be worth it for Steve.
Did the mother ever die? Is she still alive?
I don't. Oh, you think they probably have more money coming? Maybe when he gets the second inheritance,
Yeah, when she goes, there's like another $300-400 million to split up.
Oh wow! So then he might be able to be back in business. Maybe that's what he's waiting for.
I think though, prudent financial planning, that stuff's probably been. I'm sure Jenny and Jordan. I know they already have their trust funds. They're probably going to get another. Distribution. The other kids of the
there's got to be a little slush fund though, John, for bodybuilding. I'm sure.
I'm sure if there's a way for him to divert some money away from Elise's.
It's like selling arms to the Iran Contras, right?
He's going to trade. It's like how the Mexicans get the cash out of Mexico into the United States. It's like if you have a million pesos and you want to convert it to dollars in the States, what they do is you give the million pesos to a narco, and he gives you a $50,000 car when you get to America.
Oh, is that how it works?
Yeah. So.
Well, today's topic is about something a little different. We had a show in Vancouver last week, and there was an amateur part of it, and there was women's bodybuilding, and the woman who won the women's bodybuilding was very controversial in the sense that she was born a woman, John. She lives as a man, transgender man, but obviously they make her compete in the women's divisions because she's actually genetically a woman. Now, I got a lot of emails, not just one or two or three. I got like 5 emails from people who were either in the show against this woman and lost to her, or they were watching the show and they're outraged that the IFBB would allow, or whoever the Canadian organization is now, would allow this woman to compete, or this man, to compete in the women's division. And I feel that it was absolutely justified. She's a genetic woman.
Does she have a naturally God-made vagina?
Yes,
Then she's a woman.
Right.
I don't care where she's living and how she's living and what kind of haircut she's got. She's a fucking woman.
Right.
So, it's sour grapes, man. These girls, they look for any excuse whatsoever to justify why they suck. So this is the bottom line. You're a woman. I don't care if you live like a man. What? Because what? She lives transgender, so she's taking hormones. What? And you're not? It's stupid. It's a stupid argument. It's got no merit. And it's the bottom line is the gender you are is the gender you were born with. Now, if she was born a dude and had a vaginoplasty done or whatever you call it, and had a vagina made and turned into a woman with all the requisite hormones, okay, then you got an argument. Or if she really is a dude, living as a woman, and she competes as a woman, but she's really got a penis, then you have another issue, okay? But this is a woman by virtue of female genitalia competing in a women's division. Fair game. If you lost to her, it's because you're not as good as her. Period. Story. Shut up and go train.
Right, and especially I could understand when they talk about this stuff in high school, like when you have a girl, she wants to be a guy, she's on testosterone, and she's trying to play soccer with the girls. She's got an advantage because she's taking testosterone. But in bodybuilding, like you said, in women's bodybuilding, they're all taking the same hormones anyway. So there's no advantage that she's getting over the other women who are taking the same hormones. So I think it's a terrible thing that all these people were complaining and making this girl, she would consider herself a man, making this man who is actually a genetic female feel inadequate because she was told that she has to do this division and she did it and she won. I mean, it should be a time for celebration, not a time for making this person feel bad about themselves.
There's no argument. There is no argument.
Yeah.
She was born a woman. Whatever she's done to herself over the course of her lifetime to assimilate a male role has got zero to do with her physiology. So she is no different, zero difference between her and the girl competing next to her on stage, except for maybe their drug protocol's a little different. But whose isn't? Okay, right. So any woman that's complaining about this is got her head up her ass, and it's a real shame that they can't see this for what it is. And like I said before, there's all kinds of other gender confusion out there that can foil these contests if you don't let the right sex compete in the correct category. But that's not what's happened here. This is absolutely not what's happened. It's a woman, born a woman, competing in a female division. End of story. Yeah.
Her name is Sia Feng Law, just for people who might say what's the woman's name. And she, like I said, if you look at the results of the Vancouver amateur show, you'll see her up there. Now, John, here's a question for you that I think is a relevant question. It might not have been relevant 5 years ago, but it's relevant now. We see all these new divisions. When you go to the Masters Nationals, there's over 50, there's over 35, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. They got every division in the world. They got Masters, figure, Masters, this. Will there ever be a division for transgenders? Should there be a division is what I'm saying. No. Should there be a transgender division?
Is there a need for it? How many transgender bodybuilders, and that encompasses all the divisions, how many transgender bodybuilders are there looking for a place to compete?
Maybe there's more than we know.
That's the question. If there's 4, then no. Unless, want to set up something in Bob Bonham's back room, we can, do it. Only because it's New Jersey.
Now I'm gonna get a text message from Bob saying that he wants to fight you.
I gotta
John.
clarify that because he's gonna come back and go crazy.
Yeah.
It's not because it's because it's New Jersey.
Okay.
That's it. It's New Jersey. It's only.
It's a women's extravaganza reference, more so than anything else. All right. But look, you could have a transgender division, right? And I guess you need to have 2, right? One for men who were men and now are women, and one for women who used to be men, right?
3. You need a non-binary now, too.
No, because there's no such thing as no sex.
Hermaphrodite.
Yeah, but how many of those are there?
We gotta ask. I don't know. There might be 7. I mean, it's enough for a lineup. As long as you can get a top 5 out of it, who gives a shit?
Just think about it. We might have stumbled onto something. Think about the new schmo fans of the transgender categories.
That opens a whole new door to schmo.
It might reignite the whole session, this thing going on, and
we should stop talking immediately because this is going to be get out from under us too quick.
No, well, you know what? Someone might take it over and start a division. We'll lose the money. We should do it ourselves before someone else does.
That's what I'm saying.
No, but in all seriousness, John, is there a need? I mean, do you think that's a legitimate category? Because it seems like there's a lot more transgender people who are coming out and saying, "Hey, look, I'm transgender. I've been hiding it my whole life." And maybe they want a place that they can compete and they don't have to feel like, they don't belong there. Because if I'm a man and now I want to be, and I'm a woman now, and there's a lot of us out there, then we should all be able to compete someplace and not be ostracized for it, right? Same thing if I'm a woman and I want to be a man, I should be able to compete someplace where I don't have to compete with real genetic men and I can't beat, you know?
Here's what's going to happen. They're going to do it, okay? But they're going to put them with the wheelchair and the amputee and the over 95 and they're going to put them in the sideshow, and then they're going to complain. Oh, we're not after the open and between the bikini girls and the figure girls, you know. So there's not going to be any satisfying them. But in the spirit of competition, if there's enough of them, and like I said, needs to be determined. If there's enough of them, then yes, absolutely, they should have their place to go too.
Now here's the next logical question, John.
Yes.
If they do have this division, will there be an Olympia division, the transgender Olympia champion?
Are there enough of them? Are they that good? Let's see what happens. I mean, I don't know. I mean, who knows? I just can't imagine something looking like Jay Cutler with a bikini top on. but I mean, if that's
they'd have to look like a woman though, because that would be part of the whole femininity thing. Now, what you're saying is, I can't imagine a woman who would look like Jay Cutler, who's actually now a man, right?
Well, no, you got to go the other way too. You got to give the other side. I mean, you got men who think they're women, women who think they're men, women who think they're men that look like women, women who look like men that want to be whatever, non-binary. I mean, they got to choose. So it's like, like you said, you got to have at least. I think you got to have 3 divisions. You got to have female to male, male to female, and hermaphrodite. And if you can lump those 3 together and get 30, 40, 50 people who want to compete,
right?
I would say go for it. But
now here's another question. These are the things I think about. If they did this, John, and it became successful, would you have people faking the fact that they're transgender just because they figure they can they can win a show more easily?
Now we have a whole
crossover.
Now we have a whole new schmo job opening. Gender verifier.
Let's seriously. If you're a woman and you want to compete as a man, but you're really not a woman you're really not a man, but you're just pretending to be one because you think you can do better in that division. You know what I mean?
You're going to have to go into this little booth backstage.
And can you cross over, John? That's the question.
And this beady-eyed little schmo with a European camera is gonna inspect your genitalia, and he's gonna have to determine the difference between a large clit and a penis. But if he can do that legitimately, okay, and verify the gender, then that is germane to the classification of the division. Yeah. So if you're in there claiming you're a woman but you're living as a man, you better be in there and not have a penis.
Right.
Okay. So you're actually almost confirming a negative. Oh my God! How can you even do that?
You remember years ago, John, when people would joke about Donald Trump should be president, and people just said it ridiculously, and then now he's president. 25 years from now, we'll be fucking old men, and people will be like, didn't Romano and Palumbo say that this might be happening one day?
And you see Blackman with the rising of the Phoenix, his third coming. He's gonna be in charge of the whole thing, you know.
Oh my God, the things you could speculate, but you know what? It's in all seriousness, it might be something that actually happens because it's amazing. Here's my final question for this show. We're going too long already on this, but. Do you believe that there's always been a lot of transgender-minded people in society for the last 100 years, or do you think that something's changed in society, some evolution has occurred where all of a sudden now people are being born in the wrong bodies?
I think there probably had to have been people back in the day that had questions over their sexuality, and maybe they're born a man, but like to go shopping at TJ Maxx on Tuesdays. I don't know. female tendencies that they may have suppressed, not recognized, ignored, whatever. And maybe if they got strong enough, either way, male to female, female to male, they would, act on it in maybe homosexual ways or whatever. I think what's happened now is that society has made it okay,
right,
and in fact glamorized. Look at Caitlyn Jenner. I mean, glamorized this sort of morphology that doesn't follow normal societal trends. So I guess in the modern era, whether or not this is, I would say yes, this has been around ages ago, but nobody had the ability to determine whether they were the only one who ever felt like that. Now they know they're not alone.
Right.
So they can come out of the woodwork and, have a community where they're, accepted by, like-minded, like-bodied people. So I think that's the difference. I think the fact that you have such an open means of communication now and a sort of blurring of the wall that people put up, with respect to, what they're going to let out and what they're not going to let out. People seem to be less private about this stuff now and more easily, able to talk about it. Whereas, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, nobody ever even dreamed talking about it.
Right.
So I think that we have, I don't know if you want to call it evolution, but I think we have come to a point, in society where people have more balls than, no, I can't say that. People can, in some instances, less. But I mean, in terms of bravado to, admit that, the girl's a boy, the boy's a girl, the girl wants to go to the boy's room, the boy wants to go to the girl's room, they want to dress, they want to be non-binary, they want to do this, they want to do that. I guess it's become, especially in the far progressive side of things, sort of, diversity breeds diversity breeds acceptance. They want all kinds of diversity. So they want homosexuals. They want confused. They want imported confused sort of bisexuals. They want them from all parts of the world, all religions, all deciding whether they want animals, humans, boys, girls, whatever. They don't care. They just want all this diversity. Right. So because they've opened the door for people, even on the minor, on the sort of middle side, just a regular old girl that feels like being a boy. Well, that's kind of really normal now when you look at all the other crazy shit they got coming in the other end. So yeah, between society accepting it becoming talked about, them realizing they're not alone, and the pervasiveness of the internet and that information and the communities that they breed, I think it's much more easy now, and in some cases advantageous for people who feel this way to come out.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people might be just not necessarily feeling the way that these people do, but I think they actually think it, like you said, it's been glamorized. I think there's people doing it who really aren't transgender, who just think it's kind of cool to pretend, so to speak, that you're transgender.
Now, what do you think of these? Now, what do you think of these people who are embodying sort of inanimate objects like Barbies and Ken doll,
Those people have mental illness, John. Let's face it.
Did you see that one dude who's got like every single body part is a prosthetic device?
Yeah.
Every single body, quads, calves, biceps, triceps.
Yeah, those people just have mental illness. The people who are transgender, they were just born in the wrong body. The guys, guys, girls, whatever, who do all the crazy plastic surgery and the synthol injecting people, who not even synthol, they're injecting, motor oil into their arms. Yeah, those people have mental illness, and that's a completely separate topic we can talk about another time.
Well, that's why I brought it up. I don't want any transgender person watching this thinking that we think you're mentally ill.
No, I don't at all. I have a lot of friends that are, that I know.
We accept everybody, so that's established. But when you do cross a line into mental illness, we're going to call you on it because we just have to, because it makes great jokes. But I mean, if you're in the gender, variety that's transgender, however you want to call yourself, and you want a place to compete, I think it's incumbent upon somebody in your community to take the reins and be the leader and determine if there really is a need for this, and if there is, Bring it to us. We'll get it. We'll run it up the ladder. We'll get Mannion to look at it.
Add another fucking division. The shows will be over in Christmas time. You know,
Sure.
That's all right.
Well, that's why they got to. If they add any more divisions, they got to make this like a week-long event, because this is ridiculous. You go into some of these shows. I'm not going to name any names to the promoters because it pisses them off, and they have such thin skin, more thinner than any of their competitors. So you get there at 8 o'clock in the morning for prejudging. It's not over till 8 o'clock at night, and then you go right into the finals, and they're over at 4 o'clock in the morning. So
that's why I don't go to shows anymore. It's too long. I'm too old. I can't handle it anymore. It's for the young. I'll give a line my dad would say. It's for the young people to go hang out all day at these shows. But anyway, the topic is, will we see a transgender Olympia champion? Who knows? Stay tuned. I'm Dave Palumbo with John Romano for another episode of Iron Rage.